Greenland is no longer a frozen backwater. It's the most strategically important piece of territory on Earth. In 1933, Denmark and Norway went to war over it. Not with bullets, with lawyers. The prize was a vast island of ice where almost no one lived. Norway claimed it. Denmark insisted it already belonged to them. The dispute went all the way to The Hague, and Denmark won. For decades, it didn't matter. Greenland was a financial drain, a remote colony that cost more to maintain than it returned. But in 2026, that changed. Now the United States wants it. China is investing in it, Russia is circling it, and billionaires are buying the ground beneath its ice. The island nobody wanted has become the island everyone needs. And the reason has nothing to do with Denmark's 300-year claim. It has everything to do with what's melting, what's buried beneath the ice, and who controls the route between two oceans. This is the story of how Greenland became the most valuable piece of real estate on Earth, and why its 700-year colonial history is about to end. Greenland is the world's largest island. 80% of it is covered in ice. Only 1% is habitable. The population? 56,000 people. Most of them live on the coast, clustered in small towns where the temperature doesn't kill you. It's one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. And for 700 years, it's been controlled by Europeans who couldn't figure out how to make it profitable. The first Europeans to settle Greenland weren't colonizers. They were refugees. In 982 AD, a Norse explorer named Eric the Red was exiled from Iceland for murder. He sailed west with his family, searching for new land. What he found was a massive island covered in ice, but Eric was a salesman. When he returned to Iceland after his 3-year exile, he told stories of a lush green land full of opportunity. He called it Greenland, not because it was green, but because he needed people to believe it was. And it worked. Between 800 and 1300 AD, Greenland's climate was warmer than it is today. The southern coast had grass. There were fjords where livestock could graze. Norse settlers built farms, churches, and trade routes. At its peak, the Norse population in Greenland reached 2,000 to 3,000 people. But then the climate changed. In the 14th century, the Earth entered the Little Ice Age. Temperatures plummeted. The sea froze over. Ships couldn't reach Greenland anymore. The Norse couldn't farm. They couldn't trade. They couldn't leave. By the late 15th century, they were gone. No one knows exactly what happened to them. They didn't leave records. They didn't send distress signals. They just vanished. When European explorers returned to Greenland 2 centuries later, the ruins remained. And so did the Inuit, the native people who had survived the freeze. For 200 years, Greenland was a ghost story. England and the Netherlands sent whalers to hunt in its waters, but no one tried to settle it, until 1721. That year, a Danish-Norwegian missionary named Hans Egede convinced King Frederick IV to fund an expedition to Greenland. His goal? To find the lost Norse settlers and convert them to Lutheranism. Egede believed the descendants of Eric the Red were still alive, isolated, cut off from Europe, possibly still Catholic or worse, pagan. The king agreed, not for religious reasons, for whale oil, for seal pelts, for economic gain. On July 3rd, 1721, Egede's expedition landed near what is now Nuuk, Greenland's capital. They searched for months. They found no Norse settlers, only the Inuit, known locally as the Kalalit people. So Egede did what missionaries do. He pivoted. He stayed. He built a mission. He learned the Inuit language and customs. And slowly, Denmark began to establish a permanent presence in Greenland. But it wasn't smooth. In 1728, Denmark sent soldiers, craftsmen, and prisoners to establish new settlements. When they arrived, they realized Greenland was nothing like the fertile land they'd been promised. They mutinied. Armed soldiers threatened to kill the missionaries. The colony nearly collapsed. Then smallpox arrived. Brought by the Europeans, it tore through the Inuit population, killing hundreds. For decades, Denmark's hold on Greenland was fragile. The settlers resented being there. The Inuit resented the settlers. Dutch whalers fought Danish ships over fishing rights. But Denmark didn't leave. By the end of the 18th century, Denmark had established a network of trading posts along Greenland's southwest coast. They banned foreign trade. They restricted access to outsiders. They slowly turned Greenland into an economic dependency. And in 1814, everything changed. The Napoleonic Wars ended. Denmark had backed Napoleon. Norway had been part of the Danish crown for centuries. As punishment, Denmark was forced to cede Norway to Sweden under the Treaty of Kiel. But there was a problem. Norway had technically controlled Greenland and Iceland since the 13th century, when Norse settlers in those territories signed treaties with the Norwegian king. So when Norway was transferred to Sweden, what happened to Greenland and Iceland? The treaty didn't say. By default, they stayed with Denmark. For the next 100 years, Denmark tightened its grip. It banned foreign trade in Greenland. It installed local councils to govern the island. It treated Greenland as a colonial possession, but Denmark's control was limited to the southwest coast. The northern and eastern parts of Greenland, unexplored, unclaimed, open territory, and in the early 20th century, Norway decided it wanted them back. In 1931, Norway planted its flag on the uninhabited eastern coast of Greenland and declared it Norwegian territory. Denmark was furious. This wasn't just about pride, it was about sovereignty. If Denmark couldn't prove it controlled all of Greenland, other powers, Britain, the United States, Canada, might start carving it up. So Denmark took Norway to court. The case went to the Permanent Court of International Justice in The Hague, the predecessor to today's International Court of Justice. Both sides presented historical evidence, old treaties, maps, records of exploration, proof of settlement. Norway argued that it had never officially ceded Greenland in 1814. Denmark argued that it had been administering the island for over a century and had explicit agreements with other powers recognizing its claim. In 1933, the court ruled in Denmark's favor. Greenland, all of it, belonged to Denmark. For the first time in history, Denmark's sovereignty over the entire island was legally recognized. And for the next 70 years, nobody cared. After World War II, Denmark attempted to modernize Greenland. It poured money into infrastructure, built schools, constructed housing, brought in Danish administrators to run everything. But the Inuit didn't want to be Danish. They had their own language, their own culture, their own way of life, and Denmark's modernization was erasing it. By the 1970s, Greenlandic nationalism was surging. The breaking point came in 1973 when Denmark joined the European Economic Community, the precursor to the EU. Greenland didn't want to join. The EEC's fishing quotas threatened Greenland's economy, which depended almost entirely on fisheries. But Greenland had no say. It was part of Denmark, so it was dragged into the EEC against its will. The resentment boiled over. In 1979, Denmark granted Greenland home rule, limited self-governance over education, health, and infrastructure. It wasn't enough. In 2009, Denmark went further. It passed the Self-Government Act, giving Greenland control over its natural resources, oil, gas, rare earths, and recognizing Greenlanders as a distinct people under international law. Greenland now controls almost everything except foreign policy and defense. There's a catch. Half of Greenland's national budget comes from Danish subsidies, about $600 million per year. Without Denmark's money, Greenland can't function. And that dependence is the only thing keeping Greenland from declaring full independence. Until now. In 2019, Donald Trump offered to buy Greenland. Denmark said no. The proposal was met with ridicule. But something changed. Greenland realized that for the first time in 700 years, it had leverage. The United States wanted it. China was investing in mining exploration. Russia was expanding its Arctic military presence. Suddenly, Greenland wasn't a burden. It was a prize. And Denmark, small, neutral, militarily weak Denmark, couldn't protect it. The US has had a military presence in Greenland since World War II, when it built Thule Air Base, now Pituffik Space Base, to counter Nazi Germany. During the Cold War, Thule became the northern anchor of America's early warning radar network, the only place that could detect Soviet missiles crossing the Arctic. Today, it's the first line of defense against Russian and Chinese hypersonic weapons. The base isn't going anywhere, and neither is the US interest in Greenland. In 2025, Trump returned to office. This time, he didn't ask to buy Greenland. He started integrating it. He appointed Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as special envoy. He promised rare earth capital. He expanded the military presence at Pituffik. And Greenland's government listened, because Greenland faces a choice: stay dependent on Denmark, a declining European power with no Arctic strategy and no ability to defend Greenland from Chinese economic colonization or Russian military encroachment, or accept American investment and protection and become functionally integrated into the US security and economic sphere. It's not independence, but it's the closest Greenland has ever come to controlling its own future. For 700 years, Greenland has been someone else's territory. First, it was Norway's, then Denmark's, and soon it might be America's. Not on paper, but in practice. The difference is that this time Greenland has a say. The ice is melting. The rare earths are accessible. The Arctic routes are opening. And the great powers know that whoever controls Greenland controls the keystone of 21st century geopolitics. Denmark held on to Greenland for 3 centuries because no one else wanted it. Now everyone does. And Denmark can't compete. Greenland's independence won't come from a declaration in Nuuk. It will come from a deal in Washington, one that trades Danish subsidies for American capital and colonial oversight for strategic partnership. The question isn't whether Greenland will leave Denmark's orbit. It's whether Greenland will have any real autonomy when it does. In 1933, Denmark went to court to prove it owned Greenland. The judges asked a simple question: who has actually been governing this island? Denmark had trading posts, it had missions, it had administrators on the ground, Norway had flags and historical claims. The court ruled in Denmark's favor, not because of ancient treaties or Viking heritage, but because Denmark was there. Now, in 2026, the same logic is destroying Denmark's claim. The United States has Pituffik Space Base, operating continuously since 1943. American contractors are building missile defense systems worth $175 billion. Cobalt Metals, backed by Gates and Bezos, has secured mining rights worth billions. Louisiana is building the processing infrastructure. The U.S. is administering Greenland's defense, financing its rare earth development, integrating its economy into American supply chains. Denmark is writing checks. The 1933 precedent was clear. Whoever administers the territory controls it. Denmark won that argument once. Now it's being used against them. By every measure the international court used in 1933, Greenland is becoming American. Denmark isn't losing Greenland through conquest. It's losing it by winning a legal case that proved possession isn't ownership, it's control, and Denmark no longer has it. History doesn't always repeat, but it often rhymes. Denmark spent 200 years fighting to own Greenland, and in one legal case, they proved that control matters more than claims. Now that same logic is being used to take it from them. If you want to see the patterns before they play out, how legal precedents become geopolitical weapons, how yesterday's victories become tomorrow's defeats, subscribe to Endgame Economics. Because the game isn't played on battlefields anymore. It's played in courtrooms, diplomatic chambers, and command centers. And the players who understand the rules are already 10 moves ahead. See the game. Stay ahead. Stay ready.